So we're going to be working with a pair of Nike Air Force mids today. We're going to be taking it from blank nothing into a design like this. We're going to be using stencils for the shapes and things, and an airbrush to airbrush the colours on. And we're just going to take it from that into that. And we're going to be using all Footwear Care products, and we'll just talk through them. First up, we're going to be using Footwear Care Deglazer to prep the surface. Then we're going to use the Footwear Care Red, and then we're going to use Footwear Care Black, just to get the colours on there. Everything I'm using here today is found in the Footwear Care Starter Kit as well. It's a great bit of kit if you ever want to just have a go at it yourself. It's got everything you need. So obviously we're going to need to get the laces out straight away. You can tape over the laces, but it's just too much of a risk, and the tape can stick to the laces themselves and it can just cause a mess, and it's just too much of a risk. May as well just take them out. So once the laces are out, we're just going to use the Footwear Care Deglazer first. Really simple, just put it on some cotton pad. Just tip a little bit out, not too much, but just enough to wipe it away on the surface. And you're just going to put a bit of pressure and just wipe away the surface where you're going to paint. You don't need to do everywhere, because we're only doing certain panels. We're only going to deglaze certain panels, there's no point wasting it. And just rub away all the protective material that the factory apply, just so you can lay your own down. Don't worry too much about thinking it's not going to protect the paint or anything, because what you're doing here is you're just taking it away so that when you can paint on top of it, it sticks, and then after that you can apply your own protective material on top of it, so it goes back to how it should be. So I've prepped the areas where I'm going to paint, so now what I'm going to do is prep the areas that I'm not going to paint. So I'm just going to use basic painter's tape, and as you can see I'm using a thin bit at the start because I just want to get it over the edges, and using the thinner tape just at the start on the edges is much easier to do because it's easier to malign and move with the curves rather than the bigger tape. So as you can see I'm just lining it up with the edge of the sole there, pressing it down with my thumb just a slight millimetre over the side, and then just tucking it in so that when you do airbrush it won't spray underneath or anything like that. So you're just pushing it in with your nail just a little bit, just leave a tiny little overhang and then push it in. So now I've taped everywhere, I'm just going to start applying my stencils, just showing what I'm using here. In order to put my stencils on, I just use bog standard transfer tape. It's easy enough to get on Amazon, and you just push it over the top of your stencil, press it down hard enough, and then you can just peel it off like so. It should come off nice and neat in the exact space you need it to, and then placing it where I need to. Make sure I'm bending it with the curve, and then all you do is just press down once it's in position, give it a few goes. Should be easy enough, he says. There you go, just pressing it on there, make sure it's on, and then just peeling the transfer tape off. Obviously sometimes you can come away with it because it's sticky, it's designed to be, but you just need to push down and keep them down at the same time. As you see I've got tiny little fat fingers, so it's quite difficult for my to do, but you might be a bit easier. and then you press that on. So once all my stencils are on, I'm just going to put a bit of dry heat. You can use a heat gun, there's no point if you've got a hairdryer, it's the same thing. Just put a little bit of dry heat to stick it down. I'm now going to be using my Footwear Care Red to lay down the first layer of paint. Just give the airbrush a few test squirts, just in case there's any residue left over from washing it out last time. Just give it a few test squirts, and then I'll put my red paint straight in the airbrush. If you've got a decent enough pump, you don't need to dilute it with thinner. As I'm airbrushing, as you can see, I'm just doing light layers, just doing a couple of light layers to start with, because if you throw down too much paint at once, it's not going to stick to it that well, because it just dries inconsistently. So you just want a couple of light layers, chuck it on, and you should be good to go. Quick blast of heat. Just apply a few more stencils. Obviously I've laid the red down, so I'm just going to put the stencils on top, just so I can spray it over the top with black. So now I've just applied the second layer of black, and I'm just going to dry it off just quickly with the heat gun again, just with the hairdryer. Just speeds it up for me. So as I've peeled it off, I can just see a little blemish there. It's just where the paint's come through. Simple fix. All you need is a cotton bud and some deglazer, and you just dip it in the deglazer and just rub it gently off. Just don't go mad and don't affect the other paint around it. So I've also just added some effect on the side and on the tag there, and I've just added a quick name on top of the front as well on the loop. Now what we need to do is we need to finish it. Obviously we took off the factory finish, so we need to apply our own to protect the paint. We've got two. We've got the finish gloss and the finish matte here today from Footwear Care. I'm going to go with the finish gloss today just to give it a glossy effect. Similar to the paint, what we need to do with this is we need to do light layers. I recommend about 3 minimum, just light layers, and dry them off in between using a hairdryer or just leaving them to dry. 3 is enough for this, I think, to give it a decent enough effect. I don't want it too glossy. Also, you don't need to thin it out at all, you just put it directly into your airbrush, and it is very thin, so just do a small amount of pressure.